Hello, everybody. So happy to connect to each one of you tonight. It's always a great pleasure. My name is Sandhya Shri. I'm a holistic lifestyle coach practicing for the past 2 decades, mother to two beautiful girls aged 22 and 18. Tonight, joining me from the SHARAN team is my friend and my colleagues, Jayashri and Shashi. I'm so happy that they are here to join us and handle the chat box and the camera. Jayashri and Shashi, can you quickly switch on your camera and say hello to our audience? Thank you so much. That's Shashi here.
My name is Shashi and from Mumbai team.
Jayashri, would you like to say hello to the audience?
Yes, hello, I'm Jayashree from the Bombay team.
Thank you so much. So we three together are going to be interviewing a very, very special guest. Before that, they say a journey of 1,000 steps begins with the first one, isn't it? So while it is very disturbing, the battle with the plastic pollution, and we are all feeling it, and it's a Herculean task that we all know, but it is fast changing, and there is a change that is happening both on and offshore. And not just the better part of the population, even the world government is acknowledging it, and they are becoming very alert about it. So we, as a species and as a generation, should collectively take responsibility to protect, preserve our planet so that we can give our future generation a very safe and a beautiful paradise, a planet in which they can live in, isn't it? So our guest tonight is one such person who is working towards making this planet a better one so that our future generation can enjoy so much more. She is joining us all the way from Athens, Greece, and her name is Diti. She's such a wonderful person. We are so delighted to have her on the show. So welcome to the show, Diti, and welcome to our show, Smoothies with SHARAN. A Smoothies cheers to all of you who have joined us from all over the world.
Thank
so
you,
happy
everyone.
to see you.
Cheers.
Cheers. So, Diti, we are very, very curious to know about your journey. And most important of all, we want to know, how did you start this dialogue with sustainability?
So, Sandhya Shri, actually, I've studied architecture. And after college, I worked as an architect for a bit. And then I moved on to graphic design. And I loved it. It was so much more creative for me and so much fun. And of course, at that point, I did not know that my first job as a graphic designer would actually bring me closer to my goal of sustainability. And it was with a large corporate branding agency that designed the packaging of FMCG products. So FMCG is fast moving consumer goods. And these are packaged products like wafers, biscuits, shampoos, and toothpastes. So while researching these products, I realized that most of them are not even necessary. They are filled with harmful chemicals and they really promote a lifestyle of overconsumption. Now, by overconsumption and unnecessary, I mean, like let's take a moisturizer, for example. Now, when I was younger, I used to just use coconut oil. But now we have a moisturizer for the face, one for the hands, one for the feet, a separate one for the body. And also these products are wrapped in plastic. And that was when I first learned about how harmful plastic is as a material. And it's very toxic and it harms us, animals, and our planet. So from then on, I consciously began reducing these packaged products from my daily life for my health also and for the environments. And I finally quit my job. I left the corporate world and I began working with people and projects that resonated with me. So sustainable fashion brands, handicraft units. And then I guess without realizing it, I had plunged into the world of sustainability.
Oh, wow, that's so interesting and profound. I'm sure there must have been some incident that happened which would have made you sit up, because there are a series of things that happen. But there are times, there's one particular incident that happens, and suddenly something within opens up, and you are like, no, this is not happening. Was there anything like that that happened with you?
Yes. At that point, I was already on the path of sustainability, but there was one trigger that I'll never forget. And it was on Juhu Beach.
Okay.
And I used to play a team sport called Ultimate Frisbee.
Okay.
And once when I and my friends went to the beach to play, we found it like this. I mean, I've shared the image with you. I was wondering if you could share
Yeah,
it.
sure.
So this
shared
was, so this was how the beach looked that day. And basically it was just before the monsoon, and the tide had brought in all the waste that is dumped into the oceans onto the shore. It was completely covered with plastic waste. We could not even see the sand. So of course, this was not the first time I had seen garbage, but so much. And even more shocking was that people were treating it as normal, continuing with their daily routines or walking and exercising. So this was a trigger for me to do something further, apart from doing it in my personal journey. And I really question the relationship that we as consumers have with plastic, which is so casual and so excessive.
Casual consumers. It's going to be etched in my memory. We are all one.
Yeah.
It is very disturbing. The picture that you shared has really disturbed me too. I can imagine you're physically present in that environment. And that's a place you saw so beautiful. And in the same time, you came back to see it completely abused. It is very sad. It is very sad indeed. I've often noticed when we start getting clarity, as days go by, we get more and more clarity, because our mind is racing, and our thoughts are becoming more and more clear. And then you're like, if this is wrong, then you get to know more and more. So what did this clarity lead to? What more clarity did you get?
So I learned that there is a lot more to sustainability than meets the eye, and unfortunately there are no clear guidelines or sustainability standards that need to be maintained. So let's take, for example, food. I go to an organic supermarket and I buy a packet of brown rice. Now this brown rice is organic and it's whole, but have we ever wondered where is it coming from? Is it local? And what is the packaging? So if it has come from another state, a lot of energy has been used to transport this. And if it's from further away, like if it's coming from another country, then in all likelihood, it has traveled by air, which is even worse. Sure. And then this packet of rice, just for 1 kilo or half a kilo, is packaged in plastic. So for me personally, this defies the purpose of striving to be healthy or not wanting to cause harm to animals, because this plastic may end up in the oceans where it will be ingested by marine animals. It has been estimated that by 2050, there'll be more plastic in the oceans than fish. And also it may go to a landfill, and then the toxins of that plastic will leach into the soil, and then we will consume this in the form of food. Now, I didn't really believe this, but it is said that every week with our food, we ingest about 5 grams of plastic. That is equivalent to 1 credit card every week, because it's in our food. And to think that some of this plastic was the wrapping of the organic rice that I bought. So with food, for example, we need to ensure that we eat local and we buy in bulk, that is without the packaging.
Eating local never sounded better than today. It's like it's becoming very clear to me how important it is to eat local. We know it, But today you have given us
Yeah.
so many reasons why we should be eating local. Thank you for that clarity. And tell me something. How was your life growing up in the 90s? Did your family practice sustainability?
Um, so I feel that in India, we all grew up with a lot less waste and we valued things a lot more. Like in most Indian houses at that time, we did not have disposable products like kitchen rolls or toilet paper. Cold drinks were available in glass bottles, and they were later returned and reused. And now we have the disposable plastic bottles. And we did not even know of terms like sustainable and organic. And this wasn't because we were naive or ignorant. It was because there was no need. There was no such term as organic because everything was organic to begin with. Also, another aspect of my childhood is that my mom was an arts and craft teacher. So I and my sister grew up attending her classes at home. And we would spend our days with my mom and my auntie making friendship bands or making a puppet from a used sock. So I was exposed to handicrafts and reusing and upcycling things in creative ways from a very young age. I think that contributes to where I am today.
I'm so nostalgic because I relate to this so much, because my childhood also had a lot of what you told me. And it's so amazing, right? All we need to do is just peep and look at our past, look at our aunts, look at our moms, and then we are going to get a lot of ideas on how to live a sustainable life. We don't need to do much, just revisit our past, revisit our childhood. It's really refreshing to hear this. But tell me something, something like an hack which you used in your childhood, which you're still using in your present life, which is very applicable and sustainable. And at the same time, a hack which you have improvised and you're using it now. Can you just give us some example of that?
I think one tip that we all should take from the past is mending. When I was a child, people did not throw away their clothes. If they tore, we mended them. And if they were beyond repair, we cut it up and used it as a floor mop. These days, however, clothes are treated very casually. People buy cheap and unsustainable clothes in heaps, and then they are worn very few times before they are discarded. So yes, mending and repurposing is definitely something we need to practice more. I also remember that with clothes, old saris were repurposed into sanitary napkins, sanitary cloths, and my mother and aunties used to use them. Now, so these are a lot better because they're made of cotton and not plastic, which is much better for our skin. But they're also very inconvenient because they need to be washed. They are messy. I can't imagine someone today of my generation or of a younger generation using old sari cloths. But instead of the sanitary napkin, we have the menstrual cup. It is reusable and it is plastic free. So yeah, not all practices need to be practiced today because they're not necessarily convenient, but here modern innovation is, it plays an important role.
This is, I'm a huge fan of menstrual cups myself.
Yeah,
so it's really very good. You literally know how much garbage you have reduced in the universe.
Exactly.
So it's a great feeling. But a very interesting incident comes to my mind. I got married several years back, 23, 24 years back. And I remember my husband knew how to mend clothes better than me. And he used to stitch better than me. So, it's something all of us have to pick up. Till today, he's better at mending than me.
Good, at least someone in the family.
Yes. So it's funny, but that's the way it is. Mending, everybody, we should put it in our to-do list and we should try and learn if we don't know one. So, last episode, our first episode, we had Kritika Matolia, who's from Garbage Free India, who's working towards making India garbage free and a sustainable paradise. So she was speaking a lot about single-use plastic and generally about plastic. So what is your opinion on plastic?
So I think all of us know a lot more now about the plastic problem. There was a ban in India. So we're all familiar that at some level it is very harmful and toxic, and especially after last month's episode when it was also spoken about. But I
Yes.
have one good news here and a very different way of thinking about plastic, is that plastic is actually a very valuable, useful, and versatile material. It is both light and strong. It is very malleable, that is, it can take any shape, and it literally lasts forever. It is a
Yeah.
material that has actually helped us tremendously in the health sectors, in the clean energy sector, etc. So the
Mm.
problem with single-use plastics is not that it is made of plastic, but that it is single-use. So products like plastic bags, straws, coffee cups, water bottles, they are used only for a few moments before they're thrown away so casually.
Yes.
So, these days it's being treated as a very worthless material. So, yes, at an individual level, it is very important for all of us to avoid using single-use plastics as much as possible. But I feel that it's not always feasible and it cannot be done 100%. So real change needs to come from the top. It needs to be a top-down approach.
Okay, so it's so interesting to hear this whole new perspective given us about plastic and single-use plastic.
Yeah.
That much more the feeling that okay, I'm not drowning. There is hope has come in. It's a great feeling, and when you actually plastic has some fantastic qualities in it. So
Yeah.
it's good to hear that, and it's good. But tell me something. Use the line top down. Am I right? Top down approach is the line you
Yes.
used. Yeah. So tell us this
So,
business approach you're talking about.
so top down means that the solutions need to come from the top. That is from institutions, governments, in this case, even restaurants who are giving us food in single-use packaging, etc. So it is not our responsibility alone. And in order to make a difference large enough that will actually reverse climate change, the government needs to provide us with solutions. So a common example is the chaiwala needs to give us tea in a glass cup and not in plastic, because not everyone, like people like you and me who are aware, will carry a reusable cup,
Yeah.
but we may also forget, and not everyone is going to carry it. And also, if you even look at the plastic ban in India, why did it not work? Because the government did not provide alternatives to the plastics that they were banning. So I'm not saying that we should give up and that we should not do our bit and we should wait for solutions from the top, because every little bit does count, and resistance from the bottom, that is from people like us, can demand change from the top. And one example of this is Plastic Free July. It is something that was started by one person in Australia. She just wanted to not use plastics, single-use plastics for 1 month. And it has become a movement of like millions of people worldwide. And this impact has definitely created a demand for change to come from the top.
Yeah, that's so true. Plastic Free July was the one which actually instigated us to start something for the environment. And Rebecca from Australia is so amazing and she's so inspiring. It really is really nice that she could do this, and by she doing that, she actually it's become an up-down approach now, right? From the top, it's now coming down because several countries have started to do it themselves. So yeah, it is very interesting. So we all, when we are stressed, we are on new journeys, when we start something, we all like to have some kind of a small mantra or a tip, or, when people get stressed, people use all is well, they have switch words. So is there anything like a mantra that you follow on your journey that you can share with us that we all can also remember and practice?
So what I really try to practice and remind myself constantly is that many people being sustainable together imperfectly is better than one person doing it perfectly. So, and I'll explain this. During my sustainable journey, I read a book by Bia Johnson called Zero Waste Home. Kritika has mentioned this book the
Yes.
last time during Smoothies with
Yes.
SHARAN. So in this book, in the beginning itself, she speaks about how she too was very strict and rigid. and how it did not work. And then she gradually started taking it easy, making one small change at a time. So this for me was liberating because I was being too hard on myself and I was not enjoying the process at all. So I realized the value of doing my best, and it's okay to let go of the rest. It's okay to not be perfect, because only then is it going to be a lifestyle shift and not like a passing attempt. And now that it was so easy, I was also motivated to get more people involved on this, wonderful path. I wanted to talk to people about how simple and doable it is. And through my brand Thela, I started educating people and talking about sustainability.
Very nice, very nice. B.R. Johnson book is going to be like, with Zero Waste Home is something you all have to read. And this whole thing about don't try to be perfect, it just takes so much of burden off you. It's like, you have all your life, you can always try, and we're all work in progress always in anything we
Yeah.
do. So,
Yeah.
it's very comforting to know that you're on a journey, you're on a level which is quite high, and still you are looking at yourself like work in progress. It's
Of course.
very inspiring, Diti. It's really inspiring.
Thank
So
you.
now tell me, with all the buzz, you've been doing so many things. You've worked with several organizations, and you have been part of a lot of social causes. You've always worked with people who are ethically doing business. So how did you think of crocheting plastic?
So, during that time, after I quit my job and I was volunteering with craft units and sustainable startups, I came across an organization that works with waste. They're called RUR, which is RU,
Okay.
reducing, reusing, recycling. So they
Okay.
educate people about the 3 Rs of living sustainably.
Mm.
And they were organizing a workshop on how to convert plastic waste into yarn and then crochet with it. There was someone visiting from the US who was doing it and was teaching it. So for me, this was perfect because it combined both my passions. One is of handcrafting and one is of finding solutions to, and the other to finding solutions to plastic waste. So of course I attended it. And then at that point, I did not even know how to crochet. And I still have, let me show you, I still have the piece that I made that day.
Oh.
Like now when I look at it, I'm like, oh my God. But this is what I first
So
made,
can you keep it just still for a moment so that all of us can see? Wow, it looks very creative.
I'll show you some of the products I now make to see the difference.
Okay.
But yeah, this is what I made then.
Okay.
So this was my
really
first
beautiful
attempt at crocheting, and my
Okay.
first attempt at crocheting was with plastic.
Okay, your first attempt itself.
Yeah.
And really, what a long way you've come, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
And these things really, actually tell us the journey of how all this has happened. It's amazing. Wow is the word. We spoke about, just now you told me about the 3 Rs, and we in the last episode spoke about the 7 Rs of how to get to becoming like that, how to practice the 7 Rs, where we insisted that people should get into compositing, and, you should try and, rehome the clothes. Maybe you need to reuse your clothes better. So we tried to give them a lot of tips. Can you give us some tips on how to move towards the 7 Rs? Is there anything that you can tell us that it can help us to, transition into 7 Rs beautifully? So for our viewers, you'll be quickly put on the chat box what 7 Rs is for, Tell me.
So you know how the 7 Rs have an order?
Yes.
So I follow a very popular quote that is coined by a fashion designer. Her name is Vivienne Westwood. And she says, buy less, choose well, and make it last. In this order. So it is used very often in the sustainable fashion world. And the idea is to buy less of good quality clothes that last longer, instead of buying cheap clothes in heaps and then throwing them away or even giving them away after wearing them only a few times. So I follow this like a formula, and not only for clothes, but for everything. So say, for example, every time, like when I was starting out my journey, every time I would run out of a particular product, I would ask myself, do I really need it? And the answer, I'm sure you guys will experience it also, the answer is usually no. So in this way, I eliminated a lot of unnecessary things like deodorants, moisturizers. So this is the buy less. And if it was essential, like say a toothbrush, then I did some research and I purchased a sustainable and plastic-free alternative. So this is choose well. And then gradually these small positive changes added up. So, I started to carry a cloth bag. I replaced sanitary napkins with a menstrual cup. And my favorite example is my wedding dress. So instead of buying a new one, I refashioned my mom's old sari. And it was a sari that she had got as a present for her wedding. So it
Wow.
was a lot more meaningful also than buying something new. And another point is, reuse, like, or make it last. So I have worn this wedding dress many times, not just for my wedding, but any wedding after that or any other occasion after that, I have worn it. So this also makes it more sustainable.
How lovely. Buy less, choose well, make it last. It just sounds like it's music to the ears and it really makes you think. Amazing, really nice. So,
Thank you.
turning into a plant based practitioner was also a very conscious choice of walking towards sustainability.
Yes, definitely. In fact, for me, at that point, it was more about sustainability and not wanting to harm animals with my food choices. At that time, I did not know of the health benefits. And to help me start my journey, I attended the 6 weeks workshop with SHARAN, and Reena was there for that workshop.
Okay.
And it was only there that I learned about the health benefits as well. And so as I grew deeper into this sustainable journey, I, by default started taking care of my body as well.
Okay. Health is like, when you do good things and you were helping the universe just pays you back with some healthy body and just takes care of you so beautifully, and you're so you're propelled towards doing things right for yourself too, because the universe
Yeah.
wants you to also take care of yourself. So it's very inspiring how very organically you go bent towards that. So how did you become the eco entrepreneur that you are today? And how did Thela come into being?
So I wouldn't say that it was a conscious effort to become an entrepreneur, but it was more of a natural progression, because the problem of plastic waste is huge and it is global, and it really concerns me. So it seemed only natural to talk to other people about it as well. And when I was in Bombay, I had thought about it, to put together my love of design, sustainability, handicrafts, and to start something in the sustainable retail space. But, life was so busy and hectic, and I had work and there were chores to be done, and it was pushed in the back of my mind. But when I moved to Athens, I left all this work and all these chores behind, and suddenly I was free. And I did not see it then, but it was an opportunity. And I started crocheting with the discarded plastic bags that I found on the streets.
Okay.
And that was the beginning of my journey.
It's so amazing. It's so amazing. You just did it. And they say, a Janma movie and Karma movie. You went to Athens and then you did this. It's
Yeah.
nice, very interesting to hear this. So I'm sure you faced your set of difficulties as an individual and as an eco entrepreneur. Your own challenges that you must have faced. Can you share some of the challenges and how you positively handled it?
So the challenges are constant. It is always challenging, I think, to be on a path where there are such few people doing it. So yes, that is quite challenging. And since the problem is so severe, sometimes I find myself thinking that, me as an individual, am I really making a difference? And one thing also is, having to constantly explain to people that it is not that a sustainable brand is more expensive. It is actually more fair. It's more fair for the people in terms of paying people fairly. It's more fair for the planet. And it is cost effective in the long run. So explaining to people its worth has been the biggest challenge. And I think how to overcome it, I think especially with any startup, is perseverance. So it takes time and effort, but we need to keep on going. And with any startup, skill, talent, intelligence, all these things go a long way. They are essential. But without being able to persevere, despite the challenges, all those skills mean very little.
More power to you. That perseverance. Just keep going, and you're just going to get us all on the same path. A big hug to you.
Thank you.
So give us some tips to all of us who want to pursue this path, something that we can keep in mind throughout our journey, and slowly and steadily we can take some baby steps towards this.
So I would say I have 3 tips that I was thinking about, and one is to be creative. And I don't mean to be artistic or to be a designer. I mean to think of unusual ways to use something or to repurpose something. And all our material possessions, we need to give it a lot of love and a lot of value and take care of it, and to try to make them last as long as possible. And the next thing is to be curious and to be open. So whenever we need to, like I said, whenever you need to make a purchase, whether it's a toothbrush or a fridge, we can research it and choose the most sustainable option and see how other people are doing it out there. And the third one, and the most important, is to have fun, because otherwise it can get very daunting. So it's very important to take it slow, to enjoy the journey, because we want it to last. So we can adopt just one simple change at a time. Or if it is something we find more challenging, we can do it just once or twice a week. And even this can have a big impact. And then gradually it will become automatic. And we will go further and further. And then one day when we look back, we'll think, how did we ever live without this journey? And then we have cultivated a habit.
So true, so simple, so true. It's so amazing. So glad that we heard this. So viewers, I'm going to quickly share my PPT presentation, which is going to give you a complete recap of what we spoke with Diti right now. And after that small presentation, we'll open the question answer with Diti. So just give me a few minutes. Let me just do a quick recap of what just happened. Sorry, I've not been reading the chat box, so I don't know what exactly is happening, but let me just do a quick run through, okay? So today's smoothie with Sharan was with Diti, and Diti spoke about what impacted her the most. One of the things that really impacted her was the fact that the FMCG products, fast moving consumer goods, are so much there in the market. And when she was actually researching on it as a graphic designer, she realized it's really, really bad for us. And that propelled her to also understand that actually, because there are so many consumers for this product, these products are made in such big bulk. So please remember, we are the consumers and we are the ones who are consuming all this. If we do not stop, this is going to just exist, and more is going to come into the market. And the most important thing, how casual we are as consumers. Just take a look at this picture that she shared with us. This is a beautiful Juhu beach in Mumbai, was looking like this. And this really affected Diti. I think all of us should go and visit the beaches after a Visarjan. And then I think a lot of things will change within us. These are the products that we consume and we thought we had disposed it off. There is no other place. There is only one place. They're going to land in the oceans. So please sit up. We should stop being casual consumers. Another picture, that image that really disturbed her, was an image that SHARAN shared with her. The fact that per week we are ingesting 5 grams of plastic, which is equivalent to a credit card. Every time you see a credit card, just remember you consume that every week. It's part of your meal. And then less than 9% of the plastic is actually recycled. That is disturbing too, right? And there will be more plastic than fish in the sea by 2050. And 2050 is not far away. And the first step she took was to try and buy local. And this couldn't have made more sense than what she said today. She educated us that we need to understand the carbon footprint. When we buy something organic, we think we're doing it right. When we buy something whole, we're thinking, wow, I'm doing it even more right. And then it is plant-based, we are really like, wow, I am just playing my role really, really well. But what we forget is, if it is not sourced locally, and especially if it's sourced from another country, there is a lot of transportation that is being used, and that is going to increase the carbon footprint. And most important of all, it has to be secured safely, or it cannot be, it can be perishable. So there's a lot of plastic that is used in the process. That's bad too. So just because on the left-hand side, these things we are doing, there is a lot of harm that we are causing this way too. So we all need to use our own containers, buy stuff locally, and take this forward. And that's something we all can try. Let's start. This awareness was leading her to what? To realize and educate herself and come to know. And that is what she told us. Not all plastics can be as villains. She said plastic is actually cheap. It is versatile. It's light and strong. And it's quite very malleable. So it can be turned into any shape. Who's the real villain here? The single-use plastic is the true villain. So that is where we need to put our mind. What happens when people think plastic? They think of every plastic that is there in the house, they start throwing it out. Don't do that. What you need to do is put a cloth bag into your handbag and not take a single-use plastic from your vegetable vendor or from any other store that you go to. There are two approaches she spoke about, the top-down approach and the bottom-up approach. The top-down approach is where you have the industries making an effort. So in the process, there's a cascading effect and a large amount of difference is made. Like Starbucks stopped the straws, Mahindra Group replaced the plastic bottles with these steel bottles, even shared it on Twitter. There's this Rimping Thai supermarket, which actually uses banana leaf as a packaging thing. And then Marriott Hotel replaced their short, small, disposable soaps into a proper, huge containers, which people can take as much as they want. This is one of a good example of top-down approach. One more thing that happened was around 2019, our government tried to stop plastic. But single-use plastic. But sadly, we failed. We failed because there was no alternative available. So now that there are so many alternatives that are being educated about, there is Thela, which is coming up with so many alternatives. There are so many people, eco-entrepreneurs who have come up with it. So during 2022, again around July, we are coming up with a ban on the production. And this time, friends, we are going to make it a success. And we are going to be a country which does not use single-use plastic. So there is another one she spoke about is the bottom-up. The bottom-up, the best example we can think of is Rebecca Prince, who actually started the movement of plastic-free July. And what happened? She motivated 300 million participants all over the world. Now countries follow it. And just look at it very simply. We at SHARAN started our smoothies with SHARAN in the plastic-free July because we wanted to do something for the environment. So isn't it sometimes top-down approach or bottom-up becomes a top-down approach? She turned it around. The cascading effect has become very big. So the mantra that keeps us to stay on this path is very, very interesting. She really highly recommends the Bia Johnson book. Both Kritika and Diti are a great fan of this book. And I think we all should try and get a copy of this. And the other thing she told us is a very interesting line. We don't need a handful of people doing zero waste perfectly. We need millions of people doing it imperfectly. That's us. So let's do it. Let's be imperfect. It's okay, but let's start the journey. So how to successfully go into the 7 R's? Quickly to show you, we spoke about it in our first episode. Refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle, rehome, replant, or rot. So we were talking about compositing greatly last time. So one of the things she says is you can naturally transition into 7 R's if you just stick this on your wall and keep reading it, or just remember this line every time you want to make a purchase. Buy less, choose well, make it last. So every time you feel like buying something, you ask yourself these questions, and naturally you will be transitioning towards the 7 R's. Think about it. Always remember this on your journey. If you're taking a step towards sustainability, be creative. She said, be creative. For example, turn a t-shirt into a small pouch to put your fruits. Make your old jean into a handbag. Maybe you can use all the waste box and make it into a nice spoon stand, or your waste plastic bottle, which can be used as putting your plants there, or even a tray can be used to grow your microgreens. Think about it. Your house can look like a beautiful DIY home. It would be very interesting, isn't it? We're all house proud. So let's do things which have some personal touch. Be curious about ideas and possibilities. This is something all of us lack. When we think that, okay, we want to do this, there's no alternative. But let's not think like that. Why did it fail last time when the government was trying to ban single-use plastic? Because they did not do enough research to say, okay, if this is removed, how will people use it? What will there be the replacement? What is the alternative? So always look at alternatives. Is there anything available which can harm the environment lesser? Use homemade products like how Kritika last time in our episode told us. Use shampoo bars, or just be creative with your food and say, okay, let me make a good meal, but let it not harm anything, So plant-based food is walking towards sustainability. And most important of all, enjoy the process. If you're in a hurry, you're not going to enjoy the process. If you made this much progress, be happy. Just enjoy the process, and slowly and steadily, you will create a sustainable paradise around you, and you will make this planet healthy and prosperous and amazing for the future generations to come. See, alone, we can do so little. Together, we can do so much. So if we are around 60 participants here, all 60 of us, let's give ourselves a group hug and tell ourselves this. Please, we are together on this journey. Today, let's do one small thing that is working towards sustainability, and we will be able to make a difference to this planet. Thank you so much for being with us. We are open for questions, and Jayashree will direct the questions to Diti, and we will go ahead and answer you. Jayashree, would you like to unmute yourself and ask the questions to Diti?
Yes, Sandhyashri. In fact, it was a really wonderful talk with lovely, valuable takeaways, like, single use of plastics and the 3 steps, the creative ways. That was really wonderful. And mending, that was a nice thing, the habit of mending. So I'm sure it would have been wonderful for all our viewers. So there was one thing about PET bottles. Um, 1 minute, I'll read it for you. Why is
Sure.
there a thing called PET plastic jars? Couldn't they totally ban plastics instead of recycling it? The fumes and residuals are anyway doing the damage, even if it is PET.
Yes, so PET is actually a type of plastic. There are different types of plastic based on its composition. So there'll be PET, which is PET, there's HDPE, LDPE, and they are all short forms of their chemical compositions. Like PET is polyethylene terephthalate. And they all are unsustainable. And you're right, uh, they are typically a source of oil, and it is very damaging to the environment to produce this. I hope I answered the question.
Another question, are bioplastics sustainable?
Uh, so bioplastics are more sustainable than conventional plastic, because conventional plastic is made up of oil, which is a non-renewable source, whereas bioplastic is made from plant-based materials like corn, starch, food waste. And so this makes its production more sustainable. And bioplastic also decomposes much faster, but like it will probably decompose within a year, whereas plastic will take maybe 10 to 500 years, depending on the type of plastic. And also when they decompose, since they are made of natural materials, they do not harm the environment. When plastic does not decompose, it breaks down. But when plastic breaks down, it breaks down into smaller particles. They're called microplastics, which are even more dangerous than its bigger alternatives, because then they are not very traceable and they are very toxic. But bioplastics are not as sustainable as, say, paper, for example, because bioplastics take up a lot of land and water to grow this corn, and this land could actually be used to grow food for people. And a lot of pesticides and fertilizers are used to grow the materials of bioplastics, which does contribute towards a negative impact. Yeah, so that is bioplastics. In conclusion, it's better than regular plastic, but paper is better than bioplastic.
Okay, that's good. So there's another request from you, Diti, that please can you show I made plastics from crochet, more of it.
Okay.
What else
So
have you made with plastic?
so one thing that I've crocheted is this. It's basically a table mat or a centerpiece, and then I have like coasters, which are made in with the same way, but they are smaller. And so these are products that are crocheted, and I make them myself. And then I work with craft units in India, where they weave on the traditional handloom with plastic waste. So this is a travel pouch or a waste pouch, and this is made from white and black plastic bags, and the silver are actually from the food packaging wrappers, like biscuit wrappers, etc. And then this is a handbag. This is a handbag. And then these secondary materials, like this, for example, is organic canvas, and it is naturally dyed. So it's dyed with herbs, fruits, and vegetables, as opposed to chemical dyes that are toxic for the workers who are dyeing them. And they're also toxic for us, because every time we are washing it, we're leaching these toxins into the environment. So yeah, these are some of the products. We have smaller products also that are woven. These are trays that are
So pretty.
collapsible, so yeah, these are some of the products. But you can always visit my website and take a look.
Another question. So, what do we do with the plastic packings that come with the provisions we buy from DMart, Big Bazaar, etc.? They are not single use, but how many can we actually use or recycle at home level? Please advise.
Yeah, so these the plastic wrappers from any food packaging, uh, it is not in all likelihood, even if it is recyclable, depending on which city or country you are, it's not going to get recycled. So of course, the first step is to try and avoid this, and you can do it, like I said, by just making one small change at a time. So like, for example, if it's rice that you're very accustomed to buying from a DMart, look for other options. Look for a corner shop where you get rice in bulk. And yes, you may need to go to different locations to buy your different products. It may not be as convenient as going to just one DMart and buying packaged food, like food packaged in plastic. But in the long run, it is very inconvenient for the planet. So if you keep that as a motivation, the first step, of course, is to reduce it. And if there is plastic that you already have and you want to dispose it responsibly, you can donate it to a recycling project. There are many people who recycle with plastic waste and make innovative materials like furniture also. Or you can also donate it to plastic upcycling units in India. I'm happy to share these links. And by plastic upcycling, I mean products like these, where they're not recycled, but they're upcycled. So it's good to donate it. There are also there will also be organizations that collect waste and discard it responsibly. So again, if you're able to do some research, this is the thing of being creative and curious. You know, if you can do some research and see what is out there, definitely there'll be a solution to everything.
That's a wonderful information you have shared. There's another
Thank you.
request also, that whether you can start a WhatsApp group and help us to guide us for the sustainability and motivate us how we can go about it. Like,
Of course, I would love to, because I think being an eco entrepreneur, I think all of us are also in the space of spreading this awareness and in the space of education. So I will speak with I'll speak with Sandhya Shri, and maybe we can do something. Maybe even with Kritika.
there's another one thing. Can you burn the disposable plastics? Malini wanted to know.
No, so plastic, when we burn it, it is very, very toxic. The fumes are very, very toxic. And what is happening now is it has become so convenient for people, especially in the West, to buy plastic because they are throwing it in the recycling bin. And what is happening is the world globally does not have the capacity to recycle the amount that we are producing. So the real story of recycling is what is going to happen is it's going to go to India or Indonesia or China to get recycled. These guys don't have the capacity and they're going to burn it. And this burning is very harmful. And also not all plastics can be recycled. Plastics that are very small, like a shampoo sachet, is not going to, a plastic straw is not going to be recycled. Then plastics that are dirty, like a ketchup sachet, no one's going to wash it and throw it. And these recycling units are overloaded. They're not going to sit and wash it. So that also gets incinerated. And then plastics that are a blend, like for example, the paper cup. Now, a paper cup in which there's going to be liquid can never be pure paper. It is lined with plastic. So now this paper and plastic is bound. And because it is bound, neither the paper nor the plastic can be recycled. So do not burn your plastic. Keep it with you forever, but don't burn it.
So the thing is, to use less plastics, especially a single
As much as
use.
possible, as much as possible. And you're also, I'd like to say that, of course, single use is the most urgent because it is used and thrown away so casually that the volumes are building. But even other things, like once when I was on the beach, I found a broken comb. Now, a comb is not single use, but it is still plastic. So I think we need to think of everything. So like my comb is plastic, but when I need a new comb, I will look for a comb made of wood or something. Or if you want to buy a reusable water bottle, buy steel, don't buy plastic. Some common examples, these are.
Then there is Lucia said that she loves the crochet mat. It looked really
Thank
beautiful.
you. Thank you. I love making it because of the colors. I'd never get bored.
There was somebody who had shared that recently I came across a WhatsApp video which showed many small bits of plastic ingested by birds. That video,
Yes.
and
Yeah, I didn't believe it myself until I saw documentaries or I saw images.
if you're selling them, they are interested in buying it, all these products.
Yes, I have recently started retailing in India, and since I live in Greece, I actually was retailing in Greece and Europe, but I've recently started retailing in India because there are lots of people asking for it. So yes, initially it might be a little slow, but yeah, please support me. Go to the website, share it with people. Yeah.
What about expired medicines? How do you dispose them?
uh,
Because they
Expired
also come
medicines.
with the package and all that. No?
Yeah. So usually, like when I buy medicines, like supplements, like I have B12 and D3, but I buy them in glass bottles and not the foil and plastic strips. But if you have a foil or plastic strip where the medicine has expired, open them out. You can discard the medicines, and that plastic and foil without the uh, medicine itself, you can give it to a recycling facility. However, in all likelihood, it may not get recycled because again, it's a mix of plastic and foil, and it is rather small. So if I may say, I also remember a tip is that when you're having these medicines, don't cut them away, because then that's making the plastic even smaller. Keep the whole strip, because the bigger the plastic is, the more chance it has to get recycled. Or if you're opening a packet of rice and you're cutting it, don't cut out the whole thing. Just make a slit and keep it in one piece.
Suggestion, because normally we have this habit of cutting off a little bit and throwing a small piece.
Yeah.
So I think there's no more questions. People wanted the website and all the Instagram, all those to be shared.
Okay, we can share that in one consolidated paragraph, perhaps. So yes, I see ditikotecha.in. That is my personal graphic design. And thela.eco is the website. And you can follow us on Instagram as well.
I finished with the questions. You can
Okay. So amazing this was. This is so grateful to you, Diti, for having accepted to come and speak to our audience. And we had such a wonderful audience as usual. They were so interactive. And that tip you gave us. Don't cut the whole packet. Cut a little. Keep the shape on. These are all such valuable tips. That
Yeah.
itself shows that I'm one step towards sustainability. Now,
Definitely.
if I cut a plastic, pouring something out, I'm going to remember this all my life. So
Yes.
it's amazing. You make this possible, you make it so doable, and you make us feel part of your journey. Thank you for being who you are. Continue to be who you are, and we will walk along and we will help you whichever way we can. We at SHARAN are always trying to propel people to walk towards a life that is good for themselves and the whole planet. So thank you so much for all of you for joining us. We will see you next month, same time, last Friday of the month. See you then. Thank you. Bye-bye. So we can end the meeting, Jayashree.
Sandhya